Man wins Megamillions lottery $500 million. At Bubba's Diner in Chattanooga, James, Jimmy, Caldwell, a 57-year-old steelworker with a hard life, sat in the dim neon light. His Megamillions ticket shaking in his hand, with the numbers 71423364219 matching the results on TV. Jimmy suddenly became the richest man in America, winning the largest $500 million jackpot in history. The story begins. Everyone, please subscribe to my Sweet Revenge YouTube channel. The air in Bubba's Diner hung thick with the scent of fried onions and stale coffee. The kind of place where Chattanooga's working-class souls gathered to nurse their dreams and drown their sorrows. Neon lights buzzed above the cracked vinyl booths, casting a sickly yellow glow on James, Jimmy, Caldwell's weathered face. At 57, Jimmy was a man carved from the grit of Tennessee's steel mills. His hands scarred from decades of wrenches and sweat, his eyes heavy with the weight of a life that never quite panned out. Tonight, though, those eyes burned with something new: disbelief, hope, maybe even fear, as his trembling fingers clutched a crumpled Megamillions ticket. The numbers on the slip, scribbled in his shaky scrawl, matched the ones flashing on the diner's ancient TV. 71423364219. $500 million, the biggest jackpot in U.S. history. Jimmy Caldwell, nobody's hero, was now America's richest man. The diner erupted. Holy hell, Jimmy, you're a damn millionaire, bellowed Hank, the grizzled cook, slamming a meaty hand on the counter. Strangers crowded his booth, their voices a chaotic symphony of congratulations and barely veiled envy. A trucker in a flannel shirt offered to buy him a beer. A waitress with tired eyes slipped him a free slice of pecan pie. Jimmy's heart pounded like a jackhammer, his mind racing through a lifetime of what-ifs. He saw it all. The crumbling apartment off Market Street paid off. A cabin nestled in the Smoky Mountains. Maybe even a new pickup that didn't sputter. Most of all, he saw his daughter, Lily Caldwell, 24, with her sharp mind and sharper tongue, finally proud of the father who'd raised her alone after her mother. Diane walked out a decade ago. I did it, Lil, he whispered to himself, his voice lost in the din. I finally did something right. Across the booth, Vanessa Harper leaned forward, her crimson lips curling into a smile that could charm a snake. At 35, Vanessa was a vision: long auburn hair, eyes like polished emeralds, and a voice that dripped honey over every word. She'd been a cocktail waitress at the Riverfront Lounge when Jimmy first met her 2 years ago. Drowning his loneliness in bourbon, she'd listened to his stories, laughed at his jokes, made him feel like a man again. Now, her manicured nails grazed his knuckles, sending a shiver down his spine. Jimmy, baby, she purred, her voice low and intimate. We're set for life, you and me, we're gonna live like kings. Her eyes sparkled, but there was something else there, a flicker of hunger. Sharp and cold, that Jimmy, drunk on his windfall, didn't see. By dawn, Chattanooga was ablaze with Jimmy's name. News vans clogged Market Street, their cameras hungry for the city's new celebrity. Reporters shoved microphones in his face as he stumbled out of his apartment. Still in yesterday's jeans, Mr. Caldwell, how's it feel to be rich? One shouted. Jimmy squinted into the sunrise, his throat dry. Like I'm dreamin', he mumbled. And I don't want to wake up. The city buzzed with gossip. Neighbors who'd ignored him for years now knocked on his door, offering casseroles and fake smiles. At the Rusty Nail, his usual haunt, regulars toasted his luck with cheap whiskey, their cheers tinged with jealousy. Jimmy soaked it in, his chest swelling with a pride he hadn't felt in years. Vanessa was never far from his side, her arm looped through his, her laughter a melody that drowned out his doubts. Over dinner at a swanky downtown steakhouse, one he'd never dared enter before, she leaned close, her perfume intoxicating. Jimmy, we gotta be smart, she said, slicing into a ribeye. This money's a target. People will come for it, scammers, leeches, even your own family. Her words were smooth, practiced, but they hit their mark. Jimmy nodded, his jaw tight. You're right, Ness, I trust you, she smiled, raising her wine glass. To our future, baby. But as she sipped, her eyes darted to her phone, where a text from an unknown number glowed. Everything ready. Move fast. Lily Caldwell arrived that weekend, her beat-up Honda Civic rattling into Jimmy's driveway. At 24, She was a force, tall, with her father's hazel eyes and a fire forged from years of fending for herself. A law student at Vanderbilt, she'd clawed her way through scholarships and late-night study sessions, driven by a need to prove she was more than the daughter of a broken man. She found Jimmy on his porch, a beer in hand, Vanessa draped across his lap like a queen. "Dad," Lily said, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "What the hell is going on?" Jimmy grinned, oblivious to her edge. "Lil, I won. 500 million. We're free, kid." He pulled her into a hug. But Lily's eyes locked on Vanessa, who met her gaze with a cool, appraising stare. Over coffee in the cramped kitchen, Lily pressed him. "Dad, you don't even know what to do with that kind of money. You need a lawyer, a financial advisor, not her." She jerked her head toward Vanessa, who was scrolling her phone in the next room. Jimmy's face darkened. "Vanessa's good for me, Lil. She's got plans, investments, real estate. She knows people." Lily's stomach twisted. She'd seen Vanessa's type before, predators who sniffed out vulnerability like blood in the water. "She's using you," Lily snapped. "You're not thinking straight." Jimmy slammed his mug down, coffee sloshing. "You don't get to tell me how to live, Lily. I've been alone a long time." "She's here. Where's your mother been?" The mention of Diane stung, but Lily bid back her retort. She saw the hope in her father's eyes, fragile and desperate, and it broke her heart. That night, Vanessa made her move. In Jimmy's dimly lit living room, she slid a stack of papers across the table. "Sign here, baby," she said, her voice velvet. "This sets up our joint account. It's safer this way, protected from taxes, from thieves." Jimmy hesitated, his pen hovering. He thought of Lily's warning, but Vanessa's hand on his shoulder, warm and steady, erased his doubts. "I trust you, Ness," he said, scrawling his name. The account held $450 million, nearly all his winnings after taxes. Vanessa's smile was radiant, but her eyes were cold, like a wolf circling prey. Outside, Lily watched from her car, her fists clenched. She didn't know how, but she knew Vanessa was trouble, and she'd be damned if she let her father's dream become a nightmare. The next morning, Vanessa's Bentley roared out of Chattanooga, headed for a private airstrip. Jimmy, still basking in his fortune, didn't notice the text she sent as she drove. "It's done. Start the transfer." Lily, however, was already digging, her laptop open to Vanessa's social media, where a single post, a photo of a private jet, set her instincts ablaze. "You're not getting away with this," she whispered, her voice trembling with fury. The jackpot had changed everything. But for Jimmy Caldwell, the real cost was just beginning. The rain came down in sheets over Chattanooga, hammering the tin roof of Jimmy Caldwell's crumbling apartment on Market Street. Inside, the air was sour with whiskey and despair. 2 weeks had passed since the Megamillions win, and the $450 million Jimmy had poured into a joint account with Vanessa Harper was gone, siphoned away like water through a sieve. He sat slumped at his kitchen table, a half-empty bottle of Jack Daniels glinting under the flickering fluorescent light. The TV droned in the background, a news anchor's voice slicing through the haze. "Chattanooga's Megamillions winner, James Caldwell, has reportedly lost nearly his entire fortune to a suspected scam." Jimmy's bloodshot eyes stared at the screen, his reflection warped in the glass, a man broken, hollowed out by betrayal. His calloused fingers tightened around the bottle as Vanessa's last words echoed in his mind. "I'll be back tomorrow. Baby, we're in this together." She hadn't come back. Her phone was dead, her apartment downtown cleared out, and Jimmy was left with nothing but a bank statement showing zero and a heart that felt the same. The city that had crowned him a king now spat on his name. Outside, neighbors whispered behind cupped hands, their pity laced with schadenfreude. "Told you he'd blow it," a man muttered at the corner store, tossing a glance at Jimmy's sagging porch. The headlines were merciless. "Local man fleeced by lover," screamed the Chattanooga Times Free Press. The words branding Jimmy a fool. At the Rusty Nail, where he'd once been toasted as a hero, the regulars now smirked over their beers. "Should have known better than to trust a woman like that," one grunted, shaking his head. Jimmy didn't argue. He sat in his usual corner booth, the wood scarred with decades of spilled drinks, and ordered another round, his voice barely above a rasp. "Keep 'em comin', Joe," he told the bartender, who slid a shot glass over with a look of grim sympathy. Each swallow burned, but it couldn't drown the truth. Vanessa had played him. And he'd handed her his future on a silver platter. Across town, Lily Caldwell's dorm room at Vanderbilt was a war zone of coffee cups and legal pads. Her laptop screen glowing with bank records and social media screenshots. At 24, Lily was a storm of determination. Her hazel eyes, her father's eyes, burning with a fury that kept her awake through the night. She hadn't cried when Jimmy told her the money was gone. Hadn't flinched when he broke down on the phone, his voice slurring with booze and shame. She took it all. Lil, he'd sobbed, I'm nothing again. Lily's jaw had clenched, her nails digging into her palms. You're not nothing, Dad, she'd said, her voice steady despite the rage boiling inside. I'm gonna fix this. She didn't care about the money, not really. It was the betrayal, the way Vanessa had gutted her father's hope. That lit a fire in her. Lily wasn't just fighting for Jimmy, she was fighting for the man who'd braided her hair as a kid. Who'd worked double shifts to pay for her books. Who'd never once let her feel the weight of their poverty. Vanessa didn't just steal his fortune, she stole his dignity. And Lily would make her pay. The betrayal deepened when Diane Caldwell, Jimmy's ex-wife, slunk back into their lives like a shadow. At 55, Diane was a faded beauty. Her blonde hair dyed to hide the gray. Her smile practiced but brittle. She'd left Jimmy a decade ago for a car dealer in Atlanta, chasing a life of luxury that never materialized. Now, she stood on Jimmy's porch, her designer knockoff purse clutched tight, her eyes brimming with crocodile tears. Oh, Jimmy, she cooed, stepping inside without an invitation. I heard what happened. I'm here for you, Jimmy, half drunk and desperate for comfort. Let her in, his defenses crumbling under her familiar scent of jasmine perfume. You don't gotta be alone, Diane said, her hand resting on his arm. Her voice soft but calculated. We can rebuild, you and me. Jimmy's lips twitched, a ghost of a smile. You mean that, Dee? He asked, his voice raw with hope. Diane nodded, but her eyes flicked to the stack of unopened bills on the counter, her mind already tallying what scraps of Jimmy's fortune might remain. Lily saw through Diane's act the moment she walked in. She'd driven to Chattanooga that morning, her Honda Civic rattling with every mile, her stomach knotted with dread. The sight of her mother in Jimmy's kitchen, stirring a pot of chili like she'd never left, made Lily's blood run cold. What the hell are you doing here? Lily demanded, dropping her backpack with a thud. Diane turned, her smile faltering. Lily, sweetheart, I'm just helping your father, she said, her tone syrupy. He's been through so much. Lily's eyes narrowed, her voice low and sharp. You left us when I was 14. Don't play the saint now. Diane's face tightened, but she held her ground, her fingers twisting the hem of her blouse. I've changed, she insisted. I want to make things right. Lily didn't buy it. She saw the hunger in her mother's eyes, the same glint she'd seen in Vanessa's. You're here for the money, Lily said, stepping closer, her voice a blade. Whatever's left of it. Diane's lips parted, but no words came. She turned back to the stove, her hands trembling. Lily's investigation became her obsession. She skipped classes, her law school notes abandoned for a digital trail that led to Vanessa's past. Using a friend's access to a legal database, she uncovered Vanessa's real name, Vanessa Klein, a con artist with a string of fraud charges from Memphis to Miami. Her rap sheet painted a picture of a woman who thrived on deception, seducing lonely men and draining their accounts. Lily found a name tied to Vanessa's latest scheme, Ricky Slick Vaughn, a 42-year-old grifter with a penchant for offshore accounts and fake IDs. But the real blow came when Lily hacked into Diane's email, a risky move. But desperation drove her, buried in a thread of deleted messages. She found proof. Diane had contacted Vanessa days before the theft, tipping her off about Jimmy's win. He's got millions coming, Diane had written. Take what you can, and I'll take my cut. The words hit Lily like a punch to the gut. Her own mother, complicit in her father's ruin. Back at the Rusty Nail, Jimmy's world was shrinking to the size of a shot glass. The bar's jukebox wailed Johnny Cash, the mournful chords mirroring his mood. She loved me, Joe, he muttered to the bartender, his voice thick with liquor. Said we'd have a future. Joe, wiping down the counter, shook his head. Women like that don't love, Jim, they take. Jimmy's laugh was bitter, his eyes glassy. Guess I'm the idiot who believed her. He didn't know Lily was watching from the shadows, her heart breaking as she saw her father unravel. She slipped out into the rain, her phone buzzing with a lead. A bank transfer to a shell company in the Caymans. Linked to Vanessa. Lily's fingers tightened around the phone, her breath fogging in the cold. "You're not getting away with this," she whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of rage and resolve. Vanessa had taken everything, but Lily would take it back, even if it meant tearing her own family apart. The rain had stopped, but the air in Chattanooga hung heavy, thick with the damp scent of asphalt and betrayal. Lily Caldwell's dorm room at Vanderbilt was a fortress of chaos. Empty Red Bull cans littered the desk. Legal pads scrawled with frantic notes, and her laptop screen burned with a web of bank records, fake IDs, and cryptic social media posts. At 24, Lily was no longer just a law student, she was a hunter. Her hazel eyes narrowed with a fury that consumed her waking hours. The $450 million Vanessa Harper had stolen from her father, Jimmy Caldwell, wasn't just money, it was his hope, his dignity, his trust. And now, with the discovery of her mother Diane's complicity, Lily's world had fractured further. Vanessa and Diane had gutted her family, and Lily was done playing by the rules. She was going to take them down, piece by calculated piece, no matter what it cost her. Lily's fingers flew across the keyboard, her heart pounding as she pieced together Vanessa's trail. The con artist's Instagram, once a parade of designer bags and champagne flutes, had gone dark after the theft. But Lily was relentless, using a classmate's access to a forensic accounting database. She traced a series of wire transfers from the joint account to a shell company in the Caymans, then to a bank in Knoxville. Vanessa hadn't just vanished, she'd gotten sloppy. A fake passport purchase under the alias Cassandra Lee pinged on a dark web marketplace, linked to a dive bar in Knoxville called the Black Dog. Lily's pulse quickened as she found a photo of Vanessa, no, Cassandra, posted by a bartender. Her auburn hair now dyed platinum blonde, her smirk unmistakable. "Got you," Lily whispered, her voice low and venomous, her breath fogging the laptop screen. She wasn't sleeping anymore, fueled by caffeine and a rage that felt like fire in her veins. The plan came together in fragments, each step a gamble. Lily couldn't go to the police yet. Detective Sarah Monroe, the Chattanooga PD veteran assigned to Jimmy's case, had warned her the evidence was too thin for an arrest. "We're working on it, Lily," Sarah had said over the phone, her voice gruff but kind. "But offshore accounts are a nightmare. We need more." Lily had hung up, her jaw tight. "Then I'll get you more," she'd muttered, her eyes fixed on a photo of Vanessa pinned to her dorm wall. A dart stabbed through its center. She crafted a new identity, Eliza Monroe, a wealthy heiress looking to invest in discreet opportunities. Using a burner email, she contacted Vanessa, dangling a $10 million deal in cryptocurrency, catnip for a grifter like her. "I hear you're the best at making money disappear," Lily wrote, her fingers trembling with adrenaline. Vanessa bit, her reply dripping with greed. "Let's talk. Knoxville, tomorrow." The Black Dog, 9 p.m. Knoxville was a 3-hour drive, and Lily's Honda Civic groaned as she pushed it to its limits along I-75. The Smoky Mountains looming like silent judges in the dusk. Her backpack held essentials, a wig, a voice recorder, and a burner phone. Her plan was simple but dangerous: get Vanessa to talk, record her confession, and slip a tracker onto her car. If it went wrong, Lily knew she could end up in over her head. But fear was a luxury she couldn't afford. She thought of Jimmy, slumped in the rusty nail, his voice broken as he'd mumbled, "I'm nothing again, Lil." The memory steeled her, her hands gripping the wheel until her knuckles whitened. "You're not nothing, Dad," she whispered to the empty car, her voice fierce, "and she's not getting away." The Black Dog was a dive straight out of a noir film, neon signs buzzing, pool tables scarred, the air thick with cigarette smoke and desperation. Lily walked in as Eliza, her dark wig framing her face, her heels clicking on the sticky floor. She'd practiced her persona in the mirror, forcing a smile that hid the storm inside. Vanessa sat in a corner booth, her blonde hair tucked under a baseball cap, her eyes scanning the room like a predator. Lily slid into the booth, her heart hammering but her face calm. "Cassandra?" she asked, her voice smooth, a touch of southern charm. Vanessa nodded, her lips curling. "Eliza, right? You've got my attention. What's the deal?" Her voice was all business, but her eyes gleamed with the same hunger Lily had seen in Chattanooga. Over cheap wine that tasted like regret. Lily played her part, spinning tales of a trust fund and shady investors. Vanessa leaned in, her guard slipping with every sip. You want money to move fast. I'm your girl, she said, her voice low, confident. I've got accounts in places the IRS can't touch. Lily's pulse raced, but she kept her smile steady, her phone recording every word under the table. Sounds like you've done this before, she said, leaning closer, her tone conspiratorial. Vanessa laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. Oh, honey, you have no idea. Just last month, I pulled off a $450 million job. Some sap in Chattanooga thought he was in love. Easiest mark one ever had. Lily's blood boiled, her fingers itching to lunge across the table. But she forced a laugh. That's impressive, she said, her voice tight. How'd you pull it off? Vanessa, drunk on her own ego, spilled everything. The shell companies, the offshore transfers, and Ricky, Slick, Vaughn, her partner who handled the dirty work. He's got a place in Memphis. She bragged. We're laying low until the heat dies down. Lily's heart thudded as she pressed further. What about loose ends? Anyone sniffing around? Vanessa's eyes narrowed, but her arrogance won out. His kid's a problem, some law student with a chip on her shoulder. But she's got Ming. System. Got nothing. I'll take it from here. Lily's stomach twisted at Vanessa's words, but she kept her composure. Her voice steady. Sounds like you've got everything under control, she said, forcing a smile. What about the guy's family? They causing trouble? Vanessa smirked, oblivious to the trap. His ex-wife was in on it, tipped me off for a cut. She's a snake, but useful. The daughter, though? She's just a kid playing detective. Nothing I can't handle. Lily's vision blurred with rage. But she nodded, her recorder catching every damning word. You're good, Cassandra, she said, her tone dripping with fake admiration. Here's to clean getaways. They clinked glasses, and Lily slipped a GPS tracker into Vanessa's purse as she excused herself for a smoke. Outside, in the humid Knoxville night, Lily leaned against her car, her hands shaking as she sent the recording to Detective Sarah Monroe. Got her, she texted, her breath ragged. Within hours, Knoxville PD raided the Black Dog, catching Vanessa and Ricky mid-deal. Lily watched from across the street as they were cuffed. Vanessa's face twisted in shock. Ricky cursing loudly. Sarah called her later, her voice grim but impressed. We've got enough to nail them. Lily, $350 million recovered. But $100 million still out there. Lily's jaw clenched. Keep looking, she said, her voice cold. I'm not done. Back in Chattanooga, Lily's confrontation with Diane was a storm waiting to break. She found her mother at Jimmy's apartment, packing a suitcase. Going somewhere? Lily asked, her voice like ice. Diane froze, her eyes wide. Lily, I was just helping your father, she stammered, her hands trembling. Lily stepped closer, holding up a printed email, a message from Diane to Vanessa. Dated the day before the theft. You sold him out, Lily said, her voice low. Lethal, your own husband. Diane's face crumpled, her voice barely a whisper. I needed the money, Lily. I was drowning. Lily's laugh was sharp, bitter. You're pathetic. Get out of our lives. Diane fled, leaving behind a note. I'm sorry. Lily tore it to shreds, her chest heaving with a mix of triumph and pain. The hunt was over, but the victory felt hollow. Lily sat in her car outside Jimmy's apartment. The recovered $350 million, a small salve for the wound Vanessa and Diane had left. She thought of her father. Broken but still hers to protect. The fight wasn't over, not until every piece of their betrayal was undone. Lily's phone buzzed with a new lead, a bank account in Memphis. Linked to Ricky, she started the engine, her eyes burning with purpose. Vanessa and Diane had taken too much. Lily would take it all back. The Tennessee River shimmered under the fading glow of a Chattanooga sunset, its waters catching the last streaks of gold and crimson as they bled into the horizon. Lookout Mountain loomed in the distance, a silent sentinel over a city that had watched Jimmy, Caldwell rise and fall like a tragic ballad. Inside his modest apartment on Market Street, the air was heavy with the scent of coffee and regret. Jimmy sat at the kitchen table, his calloused hands wrapped around a chipped mug, his face etched with lines deeper than the river itself. At 57, he was a man reborn, not by the $350 million the police had clawed back from Vanessa Harper's theft, but by the fierce, unyielding love of his daughter. Lily, The $500 million Megamillions jackpot, once a beacon of hope, had nearly destroyed him. Now, with Vanessa and her accomplice Ricky, Slick Vaughn behind bars, and his ex-wife Diane vanished into the shame of her betrayal, Jimmy faced a reckoning, not with the world, but with himself. Lily stood by the window, her silhouette sharp against the dying light. At 24, she was a force of nature. Her hazel eyes, Jimmy's eyes, burning with a mix of exhaustion and resolve. The past weeks had been a crucible, forging her from a law student into a warrior. She'd tracked Vanessa to Knoxville, tricked her into a confession, and handed Detective Sarah Monroe the evidence to lock her away. The recovered $350 million sat in a trust, untouchable by the vultures who'd circled Jimmy's fortune. But $100 million remained lost, a ghost that haunted Lily's dreams. She hadn't slept properly since the hunt began, her nights spent chasing leads, her days haunted by her father's broken voice, "I'm nothing again." Lil, those words had driven her to tear apart Vanessa's lies, to expose Diane's treachery, but the victory felt like ash. She'd saved her father's future, but the scars of betrayal ran deep, and the weight of her mother's complicity pressed against her chest like a stone. Jimmy broke the silence, his voice rough but sober, a stark contrast to the whiskey-soaked nights of weeks past. "I don't know how to thank you, kid," he said, staring into his coffee as if it held answers. "You pulled me out of hell." Lily turned, her arms crossed, her lips tight. "You're my dad," she said simply, her voice steady but laced with pain. "I wasn't gonna let her win." Jimmy's eyes met hers, wet with tears he didn't bother to hide. "I was a fool, Lil. Trusted the wrong people. Vanessa, your mom." He trailed off, his voice cracking. Lily stepped closer, her boots scuffing the worn linoleum. "You trusted with your heart. Dad, that's not foolish. It's human." Her words were soft, but her hands clenched at her sides, the memory of Diane's betrayal flashing like a knife. Jimmy shook his head, his laugh bitter. "Human or not, I lost everything." Lily's jaw tightened. "Not everything," she said, her voice fierce. "You've got me." The reckoning wasn't just Jimmy's, it was Chattanooga's, too. The city that had mocked his fall now rallied behind him, their pity replaced by a grudging respect. The Chattanooga Times Free Press ran a front-page story, "Father and Daughter Defy Odds in Megamillions Scandal." The headline sat on the table, its ink smudged from Jimmy's fingers. Strangers stopped him at Bubba's diner, offering handshakes instead of sneers. "You showed him, Jimmy," an old steelworker said, clapping his shoulder. But Jimmy felt no triumph. The money, the fame, the betrayal, it had all been a storm that tore through his life, leaving wreckage only Lily could salvage. Together, they'd founded the Caldwell Trust, a charity to help fraud victims, pouring the recovered millions into a cause that gave Jimmy purpose. "It's not about the money," he told Lily one night, his voice firm. "It's about making sure no one else feels like I did." Lily's reckoning came in the courtroom, a sterile chamber in downtown Chattanooga where Vanessa and Ricky faced justice. The air was thick with tension, the gallery packed with reporters and curious locals. Lily sat in the front row, her hands folded, her face a mask of steel. Vanessa, in an orange jumpsuit, her platinum blonde hair dulled by prison lights, glared at Lily with a mix of defiance and fear. Ricky, slouched beside her, muttered curses under his breath. The prosecutor played Lily's recording, Vanessa's voice echoing through the room. "Some sap in Chattanooga, easiest mark one ever had." Gasps rippled through the crowd, and Jimmy, sitting beside Lily, gripped her hand, his knuckles white. "You did that," he whispered, his voice thick with pride. Lily nodded, her eyes fixed on Vanessa, who shrank under the weight of her own words. When Lily took the stand, her voice was clear, unwavering. "Vanessa Klein targeted my father," she said, her gaze locking onto the jury. "She used his trust, his loneliness, to steal his future, and my mother, Diane Caldwell, helped her." The courtroom buzzed, reporters scribbling furiously. Vanessa's lawyer objected, but the judge overruled, her face grim. Lily recounted every step, hacking Diane's emails, tracking Vanessa to Knoxville, the sting at the Black Dog. "I did what I had to," she said, her voice breaking only once. When she spoke of Jimmy's despair, "He's my father, I'd do it again." The jury convicted Vanessa in hours, 20 years for fraud and theft. Ricky got 15. As they were led away, Vanessa's eyes met Lily's, a flicker of regret passing between them. Lily didn't blink. "You're done," she mouthed, her lips barely moving. Diane's absence was its own verdict. After Lily's confrontation, she'd fled Chattanooga, leaving behind a note. "I'm sorry." Lily had burned it, the ashes scattered in the wind. She didn't know where her mother was, Atlanta, maybe, or some other city where she could hide her shame. Part of Lily hoped Diane was suffering. Part of her grieved the mother she'd never truly had. The $100 million still missing gnawed at her. A loose thread she couldn't let go. Late at night, she scoured bank records, chasing whispers of accounts in Panama. But Detective Sarah Monroe urged her to stop. "You've done enough, Lily," Sarah said, her voice gruff but warm over the phone. "Let us handle the rest." Lily hung up, her fingers hovering over her laptop. "Not yet," she whispered, her voice a vow. The reckoning ended on the Tennessee Riverwalk, where Lily and Jimmy walked as the stars emerged over Chattanooga. The city's lights danced on the water. A quiet beauty that felt like healing. Jimmy, sober for weeks, looked stronger, his shoulders squared. "I'm proud of you, Lil," he said, his voice steady. "You saved me." Lily stopped, her throat tight. "We saved each other," she said, her eyes glistening. She'd graduated early, her law degree a testament to her grit. And Sarah had offered her a consultancy with the Chattanooga PD. "You're a natural," Sarah had said, handing her a business card. Lily tucked it in her pocket, her future taking shape, a badge, a purpose, a chance to fight for others like her father. The camera panned across the river, the city's skyline glowing against the night. A newspaper fluttered on a bench, its headline bold, "Chattanooga's comeback, father and daughter rebuild from ruin." Jimmy and Lily stood together, their bond unbreakable, forged in the fire of betrayal. The fortune had nearly destroyed them, but it had also revealed what mattered most. Lily's gaze lingered on the horizon, her heart heavy but resolute. Vanessa was gone, Diane was gone, but the fight wasn't over. Somewhere, that $100 million waited. A final challenge. Lily would find it, not for the money, but for the justice her father deserved. If you find the story interesting, please like and share this video and leave a comment with your opinion. Don't forget to subscribe to Sweet Revenge and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos.